It is for us, the living.
Spirit, forgive me, but I see something strange and not belonging to you there, beneath your robe. Is it a foot or a claw?
It might be a claw for all the flesh there is on it. Look. Look down here.
Spirit, are they yours?
No, they are man's. This boy is ignorance. This girl is want. Beware of both of them, but most of all beware the boy. For on his forehead I see that written which is doom, unless the writing is erased. If you deny him, slander those who tell others about him, admit he exists but do nothing about it, then doom will engulf you all.
Are there no shelters? No charities to help them?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
This is Sammy's.
Oh, okay.
Neither did I. I didn't understand it.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning, everybody. Let's have a seat, please, so we can get started. We're going to continue our discussion on the legislative branch today. So I have a worksheet for you to complete. You'll have a few minutes to work on that. You can work in partners if you would like to. After that, we will discuss it.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you tell me where Mr. Nelson's room is?
Sure. Are you here to see him? Because I'm
Yeah, I
gonna need you to sign.
have an appointment with him.
I need you to sign in right down here.
I'm not going to sign that in. I'll just go find him myself.
What's the address of emergency?
490 North Mark Street in West Salem.
What's going on there?
We have a gentleman that just came in the building that we think is a suspicious person and possibly an intruder.
Okay, white, black, Asian, Hispanic?
A white.
What color shirt does he have on?
He has a camo jacket and a hood with a black hoodie on underneath.
All right. And you're not familiar with him, or?
Not at all. He bypassed me, wouldn't sign in, asked for a teacher, and is heading up to room 220.
Go to room 20? What's up in room 220?
It's Mr. Nelson. He's a teacher. He asked for a teacher, Mr. Nelson, and where he was.
Okay, Mr. Nelson. Good. Anything else suspicious about him?
Just very suspicious. I don't know. I have no idea why he's here, but he was obviously angry.
All right. Can get officers on the way up there. Anybody else with him?
Nope.
Male white, camo jacket, hood, black hoodie underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for room 220 for what Mr. Nelson is.
Correct.
Still students in school?
Yeah, absolutely. We've gone into lockdown.
And, what's the easiest access for officers to come in?
The main entrance on Mark Street.
All right. We have them on the way there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Anybody have any questions before we
Central
begin?
Salem High School and immediate
Emergency lockdown. At this time, immediate emergency
Everybody
lockdown.
Get into the corner, please. Get into the corner. Make sure your cell phones are put away and turned off. Remain quiet.
Room 220.
Don't call me special.
What? Oh my God, Clark. Dude, what are you here for? What does the title on the front of that school say? Bedford Special Education.
Don't call me special.
What would you like me to call you, Jules?
Normal? Just don't call me special.
Art. Nobody gives a
Where's Mr. Nelson? I gotta find Mr. Nelson. I can't believe he did that to my kid. I need to find that Mr. Nelson. 220. I had 220. 220. There is Mr. Nelson. Hey! I'm looking for Mr. Nelson! Are you Mr. Nelson? Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Are you Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
You embarrassed my son the other day in class!
Put the gun down.
You embarrassed my son the other day in class!
Let them go.
Why?
They didn't do
He's
anything.
really upset!
They didn't do anything. Let them
I'm not
go.
here for them, I'm here for you!
And let them go.
No! You're gonna pay! What you did to my son the other day!
Put the gun down and let's talk about it.
No, I don't want
Put
to
it
talk
down.
about it!
Just let them go.
My son hasn't been to school since the other day!
I'm sorry.
Because of what you did to him!
Sorry, okay?
You stay on the ground! Get down on the ground! Don't move!
When I get out of this school, you ain't gonna be calling me special now.
What are you gonna do, dude? You know what, Jules? I would kick your ass here in the con until I'm 80 years old.
Don't threaten.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Gonna get a job or a jockey? Like I'm scared. You said when you get out of school, you're gonna do something. What are you gonna do?
I didn't.
What are you gonna do?
Get on my face.
You didn't say that? You didn't say when you get
Get
out
on
of
my
school,
face.
you're gonna do something?
I
What
didn't
do you
know. I
say?
said when I get out of this school, what you gonna say then?
What?
When I get out of this school.
When you get out of this school, I'll be right there. You tell me where you are, and I'll call you anytime.
I
you want.
said when I
There
get
ain't
out of
gonna
this
be
school back to
stinking- There ain't
district.
gonna be a stinking
When
thing
I
that
say
you're
when I
gonna
get
do.
back to this
There ain't gonna be
district.
nothing
Get on
you're
my
gonna
face.
do. There ain't
Get on
gonna be
my face.
nothing you're gonna
Get on my face.
ever.
Just let them go.
No!
They didn't do anything to him.
I'm not letting go! Because then when I let them go, then it's just me and you! I have more leverage with all of them in here!
Let's just talk about it, okay? Put the gun down.
No!
Put it down.
Why did you do that to my son?
I'm sorry, okay? It was not on purpose.
I don't care if it was on purpose. Why did you do that?
I'm sorry. It's not intentional. Just
Put your
let them
face down and
go.
face the other way.
Just let them go.
Don't call me special. I'm just
Were
telling
you
you, don't
kids
call
here?
me special.
Are you kids here when you do that?
You don't like it? Hold up.
I told you to face the other way. Did you see what he did?
We didn't see it.
Why didn't you stop him from doing it?
Listen, we were here.
I told you
Who cares? Are you special?
No more.
Nobody, dude.
to face the other way. This is what you get. Or what you did my son! I can't believe you did that to him! One more!
Stop, please! Drop your weapon! Do it now! Hands out! Turn around! Don't face!
Into my kid!
Turn around! Don't
He
face!
deserved it!
Face away from me now,
He
sir!
deserved it!
Face
What
away
he did
from
to
me
my
now! Hands behind your back!
He'll never do that to my kid
Hands
again!
behind your back! Walk backwards towards me!
Did you see what he did to my
Walk
kid?
backwards towards me! Stay there! Don't move!
Give it to me! I said, give it to me! Give me a hand! Give me that horn!
Leave him alone! What's he know?
Damn!
He's killing him, Gus.
Tim, you go back to the wagon, son. Stay back here. Junior, stay back here.
I hate rude behavior in a man. Won't tolerate it.
rival groups, suspicious of each other, hating each other. They were being swindled, all of them.
It is for us, the living.
Werden andere schon wieder beginnen, kommen und gehen und stets aufs Neue ergriffen, beglückt und begeistert sein, denn die Idee und die Bewegung
See, you have to realize how many times have they used, we're doing it to protect the kids, we're doing it to protect the kids. And it was like the worst policy ever. Don't let them weaponize that language on you.
What is your plan?
My plan is to actually, we've had a war on drugs, war on poverty, war on terror. Why not a war?
You lost this
why
one.
Why not have a war on methanol? Man, take your ass out of here. Take your ass to China. Take your ass to China. Go to Cuba. Go to Cuba.
They're gonna
take your ass to Cuba.
Yeah, you're total. Look at all those people. Look at all these people. They're totally not the establishment to rebel against.
Oh yeah.
Go to Cuba.
Yeah. Go to Germany back in the 40s.
I said I've been to Germany.
In the 40s?
It's a nice place.
In the 40s? They would have killed you in the 40s.
That's what they started with. Actually, black men went over there and fought in the 40s. So.
Oh, they would have gassed you with everybody else in the 40s. That's your country.
I'm not even gonna get it started on that.
You lost this one.
No, we didn't lose shit. Take your ass on.
Well, let's listen to somebody who actually lived under Hitler's rule after Anschluss, when Austria was integrated into Germany under Nazi rule. Kitty Werthmann. She wasn't a Jew, she wasn't a subversive, yet listen to what she has to say about the Nazi policy on gun control.
And we were deadly scared of the Gestapo because people disappeared all the time. We also had gun registration. Oh, the Austrian people they all had guns. But the government said the guns are very dangerous. Children are playing with guns, hunting accidents happen, and we really have to have total control, safety. And we had criminals again. And the only way that we can trace the criminal was by the serial number of the gun. So we dutifully went to the police station and we registered our guns. Not long after, they said, no, it didn't help. The only way that we don't have accidents and crimes, you bring the guns to the police station and then we don't have any crimes anymore and any accidents. And if you don't do that, capital punishment. So that's what we did.
So there you have it. Stalin and Hitler disarmed their political adversaries before engaging in mass genocide. Historical fact. Also historical fact, Stalin and those who went before him and Hitler increased already existing gun control legislation to a more draconian level, which ended up in ordinary civilians like Kitty Werthmann under Nazi-occupied rule having to hand in and have their firearms confiscated. And no matter how many mental gymnastics or word games you try and pull on your readers, those leftist advocates of gun control are shameful. They're trying to rewrite history to push their contemporary political agenda, and it's disgusting. This is Paul Joseph Watson with Infowars.com.
Fallen mit Leib und mit Seele. Ein Symbol des Ewigen. Es lebe die nationalsozialistische Bewegung.
But still they have trouble with their oldest and most persistent enemy, the truth. They found that truth does not die easily, and so they decided to abolish truth. One great source of truth is literature, so they burned books, 20 million of them. Many great men in Germany who were spokesmen for truth were jailed or driven.
Hi there, I am really glad to see you. Let's sing a song all about the country America and how wonderful it is, and about how proud we are of all the things that have happened to make America as great as it is today. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. That was
They burned
great.
books.
I am so glad that you were here to sing that song.
And so for all practical purposes, truth had been abolished in Germany. They burned books, 20. And so for all practical purposes, truth had been abolished in Germany.
Right.
blood of our heroes, that freedom shall not perish from the earth. Flag. When Betsy Ross made a banner of red, white, and blue with 13 stars, each star.
Country, 'tis of the stronghold of slavery of the I sing. Land where my fathers died, where man's rights deride from every mountainside. Thy deeds shall ring. Our fathers' God, to the author of liberty, to thee we sing. Soon may our land be bright with holy freedom's right. Protect us by thy might, great God, our King. It comes the joyful day when tyranny's proud sway, stern as the grave, shall to the ground be hurled, and freedom's flag unfurled shall wave throughout the world o'er every slave. Trump of glad jubilee, echo our land and sea, freedom for all. Let the glad tidings fly, and every tribe reply, glory to God on high, as slavery's fall.
It was July in Virginia. The scent of the dogwood and the laurel lay heavy on the land, while the burgeoning fruit of the peach and the apple marked the full sway of summer. For 7 faithful days, the trees, the flowers, yes, the very ground itself, had shuddered under the roar of cannon, bark of howitzers, and the crackling of a legion of rifles. Now all was silent. Sledgehammer blows of Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson had mauled the Army of the Potomac, and yet that army was not destroyed. 7,000 men had fallen in that dreadful week, and the savagery of the conflict was grimly evident in the river of wounded that wound through the green hills. Now a new sound drifted in the soft evening sky. For Colonel Dan Butterfield, a courageous and able soldier, was also a man of music. To honor his fallen comrades, he had composed a simple and heart-rending melody. On July 2nd, in the year of 1862, its strains floated over the graves that scarred the dark Virginia earth. It has been more than 100 years since that sound was born, but those notes have never died away. Every night of the year, throughout the world, fighting men of America from the north and the south, the east and the west, close their eyes in sleep to its call, and in each of their hearts there glows a fierce surge of pride.
It is for us, the living.
Welcome to Breaking News Today. The like button, and if you're new, make sure they hit that subscribe button down below and turn on my post.
Only teen to skip walkout leaves everyone speechless with what was found at her desk. Exactly 1 month after the horrific tragedy in Parkland, Florida, students at schools across the nation walked out of their classrooms, thinking that somehow that would change gun policy and impose more control over people's Second Amendment rights. At least that was the front for the free day off, as it's suspected that most teens followed the herd outside without a real opinion or understanding on the matter. Nonetheless, many students left. In fact, the mass majority of the student body at schools who promoted this protest participated in it, for a false sense of empowerment or just to fit in with what everyone else was doing. The only thing it accomplished was getting attention for being outside, which will make no difference for their supposed cause. However, what hasn't gotten the attention that's truly deserved, is the very few students who stayed in their seats while their entire school walked out and what they endured by doing so, and specifically, what was found at one girl's desk who didn't protest, but left everyone speechless. Elizabeth Busdicker is a 9th grader at South Davis Junior High, who wasn't among the mass majority of the kids at her school who seemed to blindly follow a few people's lead and walk out of school with the rest of the student body. Sure, it would have been easier to meld into the herd and not be judged and the one who strayed away from it, but Elizabeth stayed true to herself and made the most important statement of the day that had nothing to do with relinquishing people's rights. To stand up amongst your peers in middle school has got to be one of the most courageous acts a teen can do, knowing that it will inevitably be met with ridicule and make you an outcast, which can be emotionally difficult to deal with in this day and age. It was a risk that courageous Elizabeth took on her own, to send a message bigger than what the kids standing outside were promoting. She sat alone in a classroom, and while she was there, she didn't waste her time like her classmates outside. She used it to do something incredible, to solve what the protesting students were demanding others to do, proving they weren't willing to take meaningful action on themselves. Thankfully, Elizabeth was, and in doing so, made a far bigger difference on her own than what thousands of kids across the nation were able to accomplish by walking out. It wasn't an easy decision, as almost all of her classmates stood up and stepped out, but Elizabeth stayed put. Fox 13 reported of the bountiful Utah girl who stood her ground by staying in her seat. Some people walked past our classroom in the halls, kind of gave me these looks, but I just felt like I was doing the right thing standing up for what I believe in, Elizabeth said. She admits that she doesn't agree with what the national school walkout represents, adding that it's not stricter gun laws that prevent these shootings, it's something else, which she realized she has the ability to change. She did that while others protested, with a simple act that if the entire school had done instead of walking out, could have made a much bigger difference than standing outside with signs. While Elizabeth was at her desk for hours, she simply wrote letters. She made each one personal because they all carried a massive message that the signs outside didn't. Instead of walking out with the crowd, she walked up to people individually and handing them a heartfelt note, with words catered to each individual person that they may need to hear to feel noticed, important, appreciated, and valuable. We wrote 17 thank you notes to 17 different people in our lives to honor the lives. Elizabeth explained of her mission to make a real difference of what's the actual root of the mass shooting issue. Kids feel worthless, insignificant, bullied, and rejected. These are common emotional denominators of outcasts who become killers. It's made me a little scared at school, but I really made a huge effort to help these kids who look like they need a little extra help or a little more kindness in their day, Elizabeth said. It's not guns who kill people, it's people who kill people, she added. Elizabeth and other students across the country who were small in number but big in their statement are the real heroes. Many of these well-raised teens who sat in their seats as others walked out around them were scowled at, ridiculed, and taunted, as people passed by their desks, yet they stayed anyway. They are also the ones who have made an effort to talk to the losers who need someone to know they exist. This alone can prevent that outcast from committing a heinous crime. Not collectively getting up and walking out of school. Let's promote compassion, not control.
Hola, buenas tardes. My name is Edna Lisbeth Chavez, and I am from South Los Angeles, California, el sur de Los Ángeles. I am a 17-year-old senior at Manual Arts High School and a member of an organization called Community Coalition, where I am a youth leader at South Central Youth Empowered Through Action. At Community Coalition, we organize high school students to develop their leadership skills in order to push for educational justice in our communities. That's why I got involved. I wanted to impact policies and make sure our voices are heard. I am a youth leader. I am a survivor. I have lived in South LA my entire life and have lost many loved ones to gun violence. This is normal. Normal to the point that I've learned to duck from bullets before I learned how to read. was a day like any other day. Sunset going down on South Central. You hear pops thinking they're fireworks. They weren't pops. You see the melanin on your brother's skin turn gray. Ricardo was his name. Can y'all say it with me? I lost more than my brother that day. I lost my hero. I also lost my mother, my sister, and myself to that trauma and that anxiety. If the bullet did not kill me, that anxiety and that trauma will. I carry that trauma everywhere I go. I carry it with me in schools, in class, walking home, and visiting loved ones. And I am not alone in this experience. For decades, my community of South Los Angeles has become accustomed to this violence. It is normal to see candles. It is normal to see posters. It is normal to see balloons. It is normal to see flowers honoring the lives of Black and brown youth that have lost their lives to a bullet. How can we cope with it when our school district has its own police department? Instead of making Black and brown students feel safe, they continue to profile and criminalize us. Instead, we should have a department specializing in restorative justice. We need to tackle the root causes of the issues we face and come to an understanding on how to resolve them. I am here to honor the Florida students that lost their lives and to stand with the Parkland students. I am here today to honor Ricardo. I am here today to honor Stephen Clark. I am here today to uplift my South LA community. Enough is enough. Question: how many more Trojans have to die so that this problem is finally acknowledged? Policymakers, listen up. Army teachers will not work. More security in our schools does not work. Zero tolerance policies do not work. They make us feel like criminals. We should feel empowered and supported in our schools. Instead of funding these policies, fund mentorship programs, mental health resources, paid internship and job opportunities. My brother, like many others, would have benefited from this. So let's make it happen. It's important to work with people that are impacted by these issues, the people you represent. We need to focus on changing the conditions that foster violence and trauma. And that's how we will transform our communities and uplift our voices. This This has not and shall not stop us. It has only empowered us. Mi nombre, my name, is Edna Lisbeth Chavez. Remember my name? Remember these faces. Remember us and how we're making a change. La lucha sigue. Gracias y bendiciones.
I will tell you, Christianity is under siege, whether we want to talk about it or we don't want to talk about it. And if I said some of the things about Christians that I've said about the Muslims, where we have a problem, and it's a problem we have to talk about, and I brought it out, I took a lot of heat for bringing it out, and I will tell you that now people are saying he did a great service. Just like when I brought out illegal immigration, everybody went crazy about Trump. How could he say that? And then about 2 weeks later, everyone's trying to say, well, you know, Trump's right, because they see the murder of Kate in San Francisco and Jamil in Los Angeles and so many others, the tremendous crime, and what it does to your economy. So I brought these things out. I feel I have an obligation to bring them out. You know, remember, I'm self-funding my campaign, so I don't have anybody speaking in my ear. So I just have to say this because, you know, I'm a true believer, and you're many true believers. I hope all. Is everybody a true believer in this room? I think so. But Christianity is under tremendous siege. And if I said that about Christians, I would have less backup than by saying it about Muslims. I had tremendous backup. Now everyone's saying, wow, it was such a great thing to say because now everybody's talking about it. I mean, people are flying planes into the World Trade Center. Let's talk about it. People are shooting in California. People are shooting in Paris. 130 people killed in Paris. Nobody wants to talk about it. We have a president that doesn't want to say radical Islamic terrorism. He doesn't want to talk about radical Islamic terror. He doesn't want to even mention it. It's like it doesn't exist. It exists. And I'll tell you something. If I said that about Christians, and if I said banned, I'm telling you, I would have had less difficulty. And that's pretty sad because we're Christians. I'm Protestant. I'm Presbyterian. Are you surprised to hear that? Yeah. I always like to bring my communion pictures along. Sometimes I'll bring a communion, but I didn't want to. I think you believe me, right? You've seen. But the power of our group of people together. I mean, if you add it up, I was trying to do it the other day. I was with one of the great ministers. And I said, you know, if you think about this country, because now you're talking about men and women, you're talking about together. So the group is larger. Christians in this country is larger than men or women. And I said, how many Christians do you think? And it could be like 240, 250 million, you know, a big portion of, and yet we don't exert the power that we should have. Now, I think some of the churches are afraid of their tax status, to be honest. You know, they're afraid they're going to lose their tax status if they get too political. Some of them just can't endorse. But you know, the fact is that there's nothing the politicians can do to you if you band together. You have too much power. But the Christians don't use their power. They don't use your power. And honestly, you have, by far, it's the strongest. I mean, you talk about lobbies, you have the strongest lobby ever. But I never hear about a Christian lobby. I hear great people, like the pastor. I hear some unbelievable people. Many, many friends are ministers, and lots of them have endorsed me already. But I have to tell you that we don't hear about strength, and we have to strengthen because we are getting, if you look, it's death by a million cuts. We are getting less and less and less powerful in terms of a religion and in terms of a force. And honestly, whether it's one leader or a number of people, potentially you have tremendous power. When they don't want to say Merry Christmas in department stores anymore, I won't shop at places that don't say Merry Christmas. Guess what? I don't do too much shopping because, no, it's true. When I see these stores and they have a red wall and they have nothing on it, they don't want to say Merry Christmas anymore. I say, why don't you say Merry Christmas? Well, we're not allowed to. The owner doesn't want us to. These big department stores, they're not allowed to. And I'll tell you one thing. I get elected president, we're going to be saying Merry Christmas again. Just remember that. And by the way, Christianity will have power without having to form, because if I'm there, you're going to have plenty of power. You don't need anybody else. You're going to have somebody representing you very, very well. Remember that. So it's an honor to be here, and I know you're packed, and you know they have enough